Hi, everyone. I wanted to talk with you a little bit today about ability grouping. I know that that's a practice that we use on a regular basis, but I just want to challenge your thinking a little bit when considering that, particularly around the research. I know in the 80s and early 90s it was a really popular thing to do, and certainly where we live with a pretty homogeneous population, I think we can make the argument that we would ability group, but I do want to just redirect your attention to the considerations around that. You may not always teach in such a homogeneous district, and certainly we have a lot of kids with diverse learning needs that we need to plan for and try to incorporate into our classrooms and differentiate our instruction based on that. So groupings is absolutely a management tool that we would use to support our learners, but just to direct you to what some of the research says that are cons against it are that it rarely benefits overall achievement. And there's some research that supports the idea that it actually contributes to inequality in achievement. Now students in high groups gain skills, and students in low groups can fall farther behind, so something to keep in mind. Again, there are some benefits to it though too. So, and I think we see that in our school, and there are benefits to student-teacher relationship, those small groups. There's when the teachers are invested in the instruction and the tasks related to the content, there are better outcomes with that, and that's true with everything, but certainly it is true with ability grouping. And then again, if the teachers ability to instruct and adjust the instruction on individual needs, then ability grouping can have okay outcomes for our kids. So what some of the research points to is that when students are grouped according to skills that are closely related to the curriculum, and when the curriculum and instruction are tailored to their capacities, that ability grouping may raise the achievement. This is particularly true at the elementary level, more so than the secondary level. And then also, when we look at ability grouping in more kind of rigid forms, that's where there's also maybe not such good outcomes. So when we are only looking at their standardized testing, for example, and grouping them according to that, and then sort of putting them in permanent programs. Or at secondary level, you might see more tracks, like a career track versus a vocational track. I think the research is indicating that when we're that rigid about it, our outcomes are definitely not as good, and is more of a discriminatory practice against our lower achieving or minority population, the kids in poverty. And then also, I think when we're looking at this and when we're challenging our thinking around why it is we do ability groupings, I think there are a variety of other options out there. So, when we're looking at diversifying that instruction. So when is information processing approach? I think that most of you are familiar with that. Inquiry-based learning, we're doing a lot more of that with our students. Mastery learning, it's a little controversial, but again, are we looking to see that they can master the content, or are we just trying to get through the content? And then the final one I want to direct your attention to is around universal design for learning. And I don't know how many of you know about that, but it's this idea of using flexible groupings in the process part of planning for students, so that it's not static and it can change depending on the needs of the learner. It's an adaptable, a way to look at adaptable curricula through selecting goals, methods, assessment, and materials that minimize the barriers for kids, but maximize the flexibility. So it supports this idea of UDL supports students' access, participation, and progress in their own learning. And what's nice about that method, or that idea anyway, that kind of pedagogy, is that technology is a central element of UDL, and we are using technology on a regular basis, and so are students. So its inherent flexibility allows us to think about that universal application for all of our students because of the individuality and flexibility of technology. So anyway, just food for thought for as you look at ability grouping versus some of the other ideas to differentiate instruction for our diverse learners, because our kids aren't getting any easier, and we are expected to have to be able to teach at all levels with all of our different kinds of learners in our classrooms, and to make sure that they are learning and that they're being challenged. So thank you for your time and attention today, and have a good day.